A quick video for expats and travelers out there, international travelers. So, the big fear I've always had, and I'm not a fear monger, I'm not somebody to push fear. It's not been about safety, it's not been about medical issues or anything. It's been about currency, right? And we're starting to see the Trump tariffs finally have an impact on expats. It's real and tangible. We're starting to see some currency manipulation going on. China is openly saying, from what I understand, that they're trying to manipulate the currency. And there's a lot of people saying that they won't really do that. They won't really sell off their T-bills because that will cause all kinds of problems internally for them. I don't understand any of it. What I do understand is how currency exchange rates affect me personally, and that's all I really care about, to be frank. Uh, Currency exchange rates affect me pretty significantly. When I was in Albania a few years ago, I break my budget down into thirds. I'm not going to go into it, but basically, when I break down my budget, I've got a disposable income. And that it's not really disposable. I've got spending income, right? And that spending income is what I spend on food, what I spend on clothing. I just lump it all into one pile, and that's my, budget for the month, whether I need a new shoes or, whatever, activities, food, everything. That's all one big chunk that I break out, and usually I'll put into cash. Now, what happened when I was here in Albania before is the exchange rate, just in the exchange rate, I lost more than the minimum wage in Albania per month. So the exchange rate fluctuated, and when I took and exchanged my money, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I was getting, say X dollars, right? Well, now I'm getting X, minus dollars, right? I'm getting less dollars, right? So say I was getting 1,000 or 10,000 Albanian lek, and now I'm getting, or I guess it'd be 100,000. I don't know, but I'm getting less, right? And that difference, this is the important point, right? That difference in just the exchange rate was more than the minimum wage here in Albania. And so now it's dropped again. And so instead of getting, I want to say I was paying about $80 for 10,000. At one point, I was paying about $80 US for about 10,000 lek. And now 10,000 lek is costing me about 130 or 140 USD. Once I do because I add in the ATM fees and all the exchange rate, right? What's it actually cost me? What's the actual markup on my money to get the cash in hand? Because I need a haircut, right? So I need some cash to go get a haircut. Can't pay for a haircut with a card, right? Just no. It's like buying ice cream with a card. No, you don't do it, right? So this change in currency, and I kind of laugh at all these people going to the Philippines, and they're all high on this high exchange rate. And when you're planning on moving abroad, my opinion is you should always look at what's the worst it's been historically in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and will I survive if it goes back to that? So currently, like, I'm having to look at my budget going forward because this just happened, right? And we're starting to see that. And if you go into Google Finance, just go. What I usually do is I'll put USD to PHP, which is Philippine peso, and then put Google afterwards, and then the Google Finance comes up. You click on it, and you can add other currencies. You go to the bottom. Let me turn this around. Okay, so I'm just showing you my screen here, so you can add to the bottom. This is currencies over 1 day, right? So let's do 5 days, and you can see this drop off right here, right? I think today's April 15th. Hope you all paid your taxes. But you can see this drop off right here that just happened, right? And then you can come down here, you can add euro, and it kind of changes things, but you can see the same drop off, right? And then let's see what else I've been using. Whoops, I didn't want to add that one. Let me add, I forgot how I did it. I think it's here. And then click currency, Albanian lek right there. So you can see it's down 20%. It showed it. So now it's down 20.75. But if I go 1 day, 0.75, a month, Okay, I'm not sure what it's doing there. So this is euro, this is the dollar, or this is Albanian lek, excuse me. And then this is the dollar. So when you add multiple currencies, it kind of tracks them all. And you can see this dip in the dollar here, right? But if I go back and just compare, okay, yeah, so you can see the lek went way up, right? April 12th to 13th, it went way up. Let me go back and put in, I like this view better. And I'm not a, super expert on any of this, right? Okay, so right there you can see it dipped and then came back up a little bit. And that's 200 lek difference on a $100, but it adds up. And then here's what I'm talking about. When you look at the 5-year max, look, it is way down. And you look 24, 25, and it just keeps going lower and lower, right? So then let's go max. And it's actually only been lower. So it's trading at 75 to 1. And it's at 88 to 1 now. 87 to 1. But then when you do the exchange rate, right, remember you got to add in ATM fees and whatever your bank charges you, right? And so it's only been lower in 2008, right? 2008 it was lower. 2007 it was about the same. But most of the time, this is 16, 19, 22. When I was here when it was like right there. And that was really great. And then it started dropping, right? And it's been dropping ever since. And, this line right there is 1 to 1. So it's dropped below the 1 to 1, right? And it hasn't gone back up. So the Albanian lek is kicking the US dollar's ass. I wish there was I understood how to change it quickly here. Like I said, I don't use these all the time, but it's important to come in for me and look, what's the worst? Can I survive at $1 to 75 Albanian lek? And can I afford to exit stage left at that rate? And then let me hit back and we'll go back to PHP. Google currency. You can use it. There's a number of people that do this. So you look at the max here, right? 2013, it was trading at 40. 2008, it was trading at 40. And today, it went from, let's go 1 year. So we hit a high at 58, 59. And we're down to 56. Let's go to the month. You can see it also dropped from April 13th to the 15th. It dropped from 57 to 56. So not a big change, but over time that adds up, right? And when it starts dropping down below 50, right? How are you going to be doing? This is the 5-day, and that shows that significant drop, right? 5-day on the Philippine peso shows that significant drop. And how is your budget going to look when the exchange rate drops so much? So if we come back here to, let's go to the 1 year. So 58 compared to 55, not a big deal, right? Come back here, 47 to 58, 47 to 57. So think about it in these terms. Where's my calculator? Okay, iPhone crashed there, so memory full. So I'm just going to show you real quick here. So if you're exchanging, say, 1,000 USD, right? That's 56,000 pesos. Now, 56 to 46, how does that affect your budget? That's 10,000 pesos on a month if you're exchanging $1,000. I kind of base things on $100 a day, which is 3,000, all round numbers here, right? And if you spend 1,000 on rent and 1,000 on savings and whatever, and then that gives you 1,000 to spend throughout the month, that gives you 56,000 pesos if you're in the Philippines. And so 56,000, divide that by 30. Okay, so that gives you 1,800 pesos a day, right? So 1,800 pesos a day. And then let's take this to 46. Come over here. And let's go 46. That takes you to 1,500 pesos a day. So that's 300 pesos a day difference. Is that really going to make a difference in your budget if you're running a $1,000 budget? It's up to you to decide. That's 300 pesos. That's what, $6, $8 ballpark. How much is that going to change you? But the other thing to think about is if you drop 10,000 pesos from your budget a month, what's the overall implications for you long term? Now, if I come back here, let's go this, Google Finance, Albanian Lek. So here we're at 87, and let's go 5 years, and we went from 119 to 87. So now I come over here. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So 1,000 right now will give me 87, right? It was 119. So 119 would give me, let's put the numbers in there. So we get everything straight. Right? Okay. So before, I was exchanging at 119 Albanian Lek, right? And that would give me 119,000 Albanian Lek. Divided by 30 days gives me basically 4,000 Albanian Lek a day. So that's my food, everything else, right? So that's the baseline. Now run this to, instead of 119, 87,000. Now, I go from 4,000 to under 3,000. So you can see that's a pretty significant change, right? Again, 119 gives me 4,000 Albanian Lek. And then a day, that's the daily budget. And then that takes me down to 3,000. So I'm losing, basically a quarter of my spending power just in exchange rates from good to bad, right? So from here, 2022, when I first came here, to now. And then what if I lose another quarter of my exchange rate? What if my exchange rate drops by another 25%? How will I be able to survive? Will I be able to survive? Will I still be comfortable at my current lifestyle? All that, right? That's the important thing to pay attention to when I travel. And, in my opinion, if you're not planning for that 50% drop in, if you don't have a plan for that 50% drop in exchange rate, then you really need to be a little more pessimistic, or paranoid, I guess is a better word. A little more paranoid, right? Only the Paranoid Survive is a great book. I highly recommend you read it, especially if you haven't gone abroad yet. I'm not saying be fearful. I'm not saying promote fear. I'm not saying promote, I really detest all these guys that get on there and fearmonger and, try to drive their likes and subscribes by spreading fear and hate. What I do wholeheartedly appreciate and recommend is pragmatism, right? And looking at the numbers. Now, the likelihood of this happening and dropping another 25% is pretty minimal, right? But it could happen. With all the things happening in the world right now, it's not just the crazy American president everybody's complaining about, right? It's not just the Trump tariffs. It's not just, China. It's not just this, not just that. Anything can happen to disrupt this exchange rate. And so if you're on a fixed income, you really want to be conscious and aware and have a plan to exit stage left. If you want to see what happens when you don't have a plan to exit and don't have a threshold in your mind, okay, at this point in time, I'm leaving. No matter what, when this happens, I am leaving. You need to have that, it is time to go now. And there's a couple stories I'd like to tell to reinforce that, but go watch Old Dog New Tricks. In the Philippines, did a great series with a guy who moved to the Philippines with a bunch of money and ended up, losing most of it. Ended up, basically wasn't homeless, but was essentially homeless, living on scraps of food, malnutrition. I just wanted to kind of put that out there that, it's not fear mongering, but the Trump tariffs, the, back and forth between China seems, China basically declared war on the world a while ago. They said we're going to carry out war without shooting bullets, and they've been doing that. They've been doing the gray zone war on places like the Philippines and many other places in Southeast Asia. They've been carrying out economic warfare in Africa and Asia and the Middle East, and so there's going to be some rough waters ahead for some people. And just try to make sure that, when the rough waters come, you're out there riding the whitecaps and not, getting swamped by the tidal wave. Take care.